Does Ron Toye have a single positive quality? By the way, who do you think are the characteristics of the people rioting? Criminals? I mean, rioting is a criminal act in general, so yes. But there is a certain... There's a certain personality that's required to go out and burn shit down in general. And it's usually not people who aren't disposed to that sort of behavior. One thing I'll say as a defense attorney, my experience as a defense attorney is you tend to run into, most of the time, people who just seem to end up on the wrong side of cops a lot. That's not all the time. Occasionally you get someone who has not only no record, because no record doesn't mean you don't end up on the wrong side of cops a lot. Occasionally you get someone who not only has no record, they also haven't ever really been arrested or haven't even dealt with a cop before. Lots of people get arrested or get into a spat with a police officer or other authority figure, but don't get charged. That happens quite often. What you find in the criminal defense business is that the people, these are not one-off customers. Even if you win, they're not one-off customers. They're probably going to be back within 6 to 12 months. And they may still be innocent, but they just happen to run into the cops all the time, and they just happen to have problems when they do. I don't know. But those are the people that I have a feeling are also involved in rioting. Me, I almost never run into cops unless it's involving a moving violation. I got pulled over the other day for speeding. Alleged speeding. The police officer pulls me over. I've got my son in the car. And I turned back to him and I said, "You don't say a word. You don't say a word." And he says, "Okay." Police officer comes up to my car, and I pulled out my driver's license, and I looked for my insurance card, but I couldn't find it because we just got new ones the other day, and they're still at my house. So I was like, son of a bitch. But it ended up being okay. So he comes up and he asks me, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I said, "No, because you never know why someone pulls you over." You know, you could list off all the things you've done wrong, but you don't know what one they picked. So he says, "Well, I pulled you over for speeding. And I pulled you over, or when I clocked you, you were doing 75 and a 65. And then when you got onto this one road, it dropped down to 60, and then you sped up to 77. He says, "I don't know why you do that." And here's the trick. They do these conversations because what they want you to say is, "Oh, yeah, I was doing that. Oh, yeah, I was speeding." Or, "Oh, I wasn't going that fast. I was only going." And so I said, "Okay. All right. Okay." And then he said, "I don't know why you do that." And I said, "That does seem weird." And that's all. And then he said, "Okay. Can I get your driver's license? I don't need your insurance card." At that point, I already know I'm not getting a ticket. He says, if they don't ask for your insurance card, you're not getting a ticket. He just wants to go do a warrant check. So I gave him my driver's license, and he goes back to his car. And I'm fine at this point because I know, well, nothing bad's going to happen here. Also had expired tags on my car. He asked if I knew that I had expired tags on my car. I did not know that I had expired tags on my car. I probably, if I really tried to figure it out, could have figured out that I had expired tags on my car because I know logically when they do expire. December is the answer. I don't know if you guys are aware of what month it is, but they expire in December. So there was that. So he comes back and he says, "You live right by here." Oh, he also asked me if I'd been pulled over in the last 6 months for speeding. And I said, "I don't think so." Because that's true. I don't think I have. And I haven't, because he informed me of when I was last pulled over. And that was apparently November and apparently April before that. So I'm good at going about 7 to 10 months before getting pulled over again. But then he told me something weird. He said that I had been pulled over. He's like, you live right by here, and you've been pulled over in this exact same spot before. And that was weird. That was weird. Because he's kind of right. I've been pulled over in that area before. But it was 15 years ago. It was before I even lived here. So that was the weird one for me. Because I was like, me being pulled over in this area shouldn't even be in your system anymore. So I don't know if he was just wrong about where he thinks I was pulled over or what. But yeah, so I did not get a ticket. I continue my streak. Since entering law school, I have not received another ticket. Prior to law school, I had to explain away 9 speeding tickets. Whenever you are going for bar admission, they ask you if there are any interactions that you've ever had with the law, including traffic violations. So you have to go back and list every traffic violation. It's kind of a tough thing to do, especially if you don't know. But I had 9 speeding tickets prior to being in law school. Now, remember, guys, that I entered law school when I was like 32 or something. When was it? Anyway, it was a long time ago. Or it was a long time ago, but I'm also old. I did not go directly from college to law school. I had several years of working between then. So yeah, I had 9 speeding tickets before because I didn't know how to handle them. Since entering law school, I haven't gotten a single speeding ticket. So I maintain my streak. I'm waiting for the day when that changes. And it'll be fun to go to court and fight the ticket to the maximum because I'll just be an ass about it. But yeah, so that's my report on being pulled over. But anyway, that all came from one. This is a strong whiskey. I'm gonna say it. This is a strong whiskey. Oh, my favorite part of the encounter was he said, "Look, just set the cruise control," which is good advice. It's very good advice. Little did he know that the cruise control was set. And that's why it's weird that he clocked me at 75 and then 77 when my cruise control was set at 79. Anyway, but that was a fun encounter. And it is really weird that my vehicle went from 75 to 77. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what he might have clocked me on a curve at one of those points, and that could have messed with it. By the way, if you're not aware of how physics works, if you're on a curve, you can't accurately measure speed on a vector. I'm bad at math, but I know enough physics to know that your vectors change pretty dramatically when you're on a curve. So speed doesn't measure accurately, and radar does not pick it up accurately either. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if he picked me up on a curve at one of the points. And on Minnesota speeding tickets, they have to indicate whether or not you were on a curve when they clocked you. But Yeah, this is the moral of that story, guys. Very moral story is what cops are trying to do in that interview when they pull you over for speeding. And if you are a serial speeder like I was, I've never sped in my life after law school. If you're a serial speeder like I was, you may not know this. So this is for you. The interview, when they pull you over, is solely for the purpose of getting an admission of guilt on anything you may have done. And it starts with the question of, do you know why I pulled you over? If you say, yes, my tail light's out, there you go. If you say, yeah, I forgot to do a blinker. Yeah, I ran through that red light a little late. Any of those things, that's what they're trying to get. If they ask you how fast you are going, just say, I don't know. It's not actually a crime to not know how fast you are going. It's only a crime to be exceeding the speed limit, whether you knew it or not. So if you say, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I was going like 72, and you're in a 65, you're speeding. They will write that down as an admission that you were speeding. If they ask you what the speed limit is on the road you're at, say you don't know. Do you know? Unless you're sitting by a sign, do you know? More importantly, do you know where they clocked you and what the speed limit was there? You may think you know, but do you actually know? Now, there are some ways to know. Minnesota codifies what the speed limit is in an unlabeled area with certain characteristics. By the way, if you're on a Minnesota highway and it's one lane each way, non-divided, it is 60 miles an hour as a default speed limit, unless otherwise posted. So you might have an idea of what the speed limit is, but maybe it wasn't otherwise posted, or maybe it was otherwise posted. Maybe there was a transition zone you didn't know about. You don't actually know. And again, it's not a crime to know or to not know what the speed limit is. That's actually perfectly legal. It's not a defense to speeding, but it's not a crime to not know. These are the most important things during a speeding encounter. You don't have to know them. You're not legally required to. You're just legally required to comply. But they are legally required to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that you were doing the thing. If you don't admit to speeding in any way, then to prove you are speeding, they have to introduce their radar gun into evidence. And the moment they do that, you get to then question the validity of the radar gun itself, of the radar gun's calibration, of the operation of the radar gun, of the training of the officer using the radar gun, of whether or not they can prove that the gun was pointed at your car. You get to ask all of these questions. You get to demand a maintenance record for the radar device that was used. You get to demand a calibration record. You get to demand them to produce an expert to prove that the radar gun was properly calibrated, when, why, how, what the procedure was, what other states do. You get to do all of that. And guess what? That costs a lot more than a $150 ticket. It costs a whole lot more than a $150 ticket. And you don't demand them at the stop. You would demand them in court. That would be part of your discovery. But it costs a lot for them to produce it, because they have to have a lawyer go through, talk to police officers, get the tech department on the line, because they have to produce that radar guns. The serial number should be on your ticket or should be discoverable. They have to produce that radar gun, that serial number's maintenance logs. And then they have to produce an expert that can tell you why that maintenance is proper. That expert alone will cost the county $1,000 to $2,000. For $150 on a speeding ticket.